What's going on, everybody? This is Abil Mahari here, representing MehariNation Sports Podcast here on a rainy Tuesday night here in the Twin Cities. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to the entire Lions Den basketball community, though, man. Got a lot of stuff to talk about in these NBA playoffs, though, man. But I just wanted to say to as well, I do definitely apologize for not going live on Sunday. I had a basketball tournament I had to attend to, and we finished in first place. So that was a really good spot to my day, though. But I am gonna start. I am making a commitment to trying to get on live on my regular times on Saturday and Sunday. But I'm gonna try to do some prime time lives on 8 p.m. Central Time, try to get some more traction and try to bring in more subscribers. Looking at here at the chat. Kevin Stenhouse, good to see you, man. Salute. JMJ 2121, what's good, man? Thanks for coming in, guys. Yeah, man. Got a lot of playoff basketball to talk about, man. A lot of it to talk about. You know what I'm saying? But I want to get this off my chest, though, man. You know, I'm going to get this off my chest because, you know, I see that you play against Del Curry. No, actually, I played with Del Curry. It was actually it was part of a unified basketball game out in Madison Square Garden during the 2015 All-Star Weekend in New York City. I was playing with Del Curry, and I was sitting next to his kid, obviously the MVP, Stephen Curry, and I was attempting a layup over German legend there, Detlef Schrempf. Y'all remember him from Seattle? Yeah, that was a really fun trip though, man. And Dell. The one thing I'll say this too, that Dell got a lot of good stories, and I asked him about the Larry Johnson Alonzo Mourning feud. He basically said that it was basically money driven. You know, once Larry Johnson got his big money contract, you know, he got, I guess, big headed though too, and Mourning felt slated because he knew he was a better player than LJ was. You know what I mean? So, you know, it was just one of those things where money, you know, kind of just like makes things worse. And then plus, both of them were both alpha male type players, and so they just were not going to sync well together, and obviously showed during their '98, fight in the playoffs. So, yep, exactly against Della, correct. Yeah, it was a great time, and I loved it though, man. Now, I want to get this off my chest because I mentioned this to Stay Ready Boxing's TV's live stream last night, but I really didn't want to go there. You know what I mean? Because, he's a huge Rockets fan, and I respect that. And I respect James Harden, too. Don't get me wrong. I really respect his game. He's a fabulous scoring machine, you know. But I swear to you, on everything that I get sick and tired of his complaining and whining every single time. Now, before everybody jumps the gun and says, "Oh, LeBron does that on every single basis," though, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. But LeBron's not in the playoffs, so he's not even in the discussion. I mean, every single time I watched that game one, I mean, it was nonstop, pleading, begging for calls, and he went to the line 15 times in that game, and still lost by 3 points. You know what I mean? I will admit that last play should have been called a foul, but the referees made it clear off the bat they were not going to call those kind of fouls. You know what I mean? And so, realistically, though, if the referees are not going to make make that kind of foul, during the game, why should they call that late in the game? You know what I'm saying? It's a little political thing when it comes to refereeing, though. But it is what it is in the playoffs. You just got to play above that. But I expect that to go probably 6 or 7 games in that Rocket Warriors series. But I still got the Warriors winning that series. I just think that the Rockets' lack of defense is going to be, his downfall. Kevin Stenhouse says, "I don't care what nobody says. That Harden step back is a traveling." You know what? I actually initially said that, but in reviewing, tapes and reviewing what the 0-step dribble is, according to the rule book, it's still a legal dribble because he does the one thing that James Harden does that many players in the league are not really good at per se is that he puts the ball on top of his hand as he takes that step back. So initially, he's still in dribbling motion. He hasn't taken that step back. It's one of those things where, he's not carrying the ball. He's just putting the ball in a dribbling position while taking that zero step back. And it's the most frustrating thing, but he is very smart in using that dribble. You know what I'm saying? And you know, the one thing I give him credit for, he's very smart in using that, abusing that rule and using it to his advantage. I'm not criticizing that at all. I just criticize how the rule has been written for that. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, though, man, I think that's gonna be a hard fought series, and it's gonna be a 7 game series. But I still got the Warriors winning that. You know what I mean? And also, let me talk about the Celtics and the Bucks. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is this, though, man. I think this was just one game. I think that the Bucks, got a wake up call and realizing, that this is the playoffs now, and now you're going against the Boston Celtics, who are who played the magnificent basketball in their last series as they swept the Indiana Pacers. You know what I'm saying? I think that this was just one game, and I think they're going to adjust and play much better. What the Celtics did a very good job is crashing in and also closing out on the shooters, making them put the ball on the floor, making them do things that they're not normally accustomed to doing, and then collapsing into the paint and making Giannis go right at him. He's a force. He can get to the rim, but if you keep collapsing on him and close out on the shooters, you know what I mean? It's gonna make much more. It's gonna make things much more difficult. So let me go ahead and look at the chat. Kevin Sinhouse says Harden wouldn't be able to use that move in any international games. I agree. I definitely agree with that. Because the NBA rules and steps and the FIBA rules are totally different. James would not be able to use that. Also, Kevin Sinhouse says if the Bucks don't win this game, then they don't win the series. Agreed. I agree. Listen, if they lose again tonight, and right now they're up 59-55 at halftime. If they go on to lose this game, they're gonna get swept. That's just it. You're not gonna win 2 straight games in Boston on the road. It's not. It's still possible, but it's much more of a difficult task to perform, especially during the postseason, and especially against a deep team like the Boston Celtics, who's shown right now that they got their playoff engines turned on. And I think right now he's gonna see the Kyrie Irving that is money time in the postseason. That's the way I see it. But like I said, it's only one game, and also salute to MehariNation Sports TV. He's a huge Bucks fan in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm gonna supposed to sit on. I'm gonna stand on and get on the Bucks bandwagon because Midwest team. And I hope that they do get to the finals though. Kevin Sinhouse says, even though the Bucks are the number one seed, is this Boston? Isn't the Boston supposed to? Isn't Boston supposed to win? The Celtics. The Celtics are a tricky team, though. To be honest with you, because 1 minute they're a deep team and they play through their strengths, and then the next minute they depend too much on Kyrie. And so most times you don't even know which Celtic team shows up. You know what I'm saying? So it's a tough call, Mr. Stenhouse. It's a very tough call. You know what I mean? But as like I said before, I think this was just one game. I still got the Milwaukee Bucks in 6 games, and I'm gonna stick on that prediction. And if I go down with the ship, I go down with the ship. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I kind of see it. Now, the next series I'm also going to talk about is the Philadelphia and Toronto series. Boy, it's been a very interesting series to say the least. You know what I mean? The Raptors, won their first game of an opening round series in what 3 years, 4 years when they defeated them in game 1. But then in game 2, they dropped the deuce and they dropped the ball. And plus, Jimmy Butler, who unfortunately we traded to Philadelphia, dropped big buckets in the clutch to give him that huge victory on the road to tie the series at a game apiece. This is very important. You know what I mean? Because now with a split, Philadelphia has a great chance to possibly get both games in Philadelphia. But I still don't trust the 76ers because the 76ers are just they sometimes don't play to their strengths a lot. And sometimes Ben Simmons does not make the best decisions when it comes to like shot selection at times. Now, the big factor is going to be how will Kyle Lowry get his numbers on the road, because I know Siakam's going to get his, Kawhi Leonard is going to get his, but the big thing is, can Lowry, Green, and Van Fleet, contribute on the road? That's going to be the deciding factor, because the Raptors are committed to Kyle Lowry, and Kyle Lowry has had disappearing acts in the postseason in recent years. So this is his time. He has to show he can get it done on the road and help his team lead to the conference finals and possibly towards the NBA finals. You know what I mean? Now, the word is still out on the Raptors of how they can perform well in the postseason. You know what I mean? If they don't get to the finals, Kawhi is leaving and he's going to go to LA. Real talk. Stenhouse says Sixers didn't have a good game, offensive game, and they still won. Who's more inconsistent, Lowry or the Sixers? Ooh, great question. You know what? That's a really great question. You know what? I'm going to say this too. I think that the 76ers can be a bit more inconsistent because they don't play to their strengths a lot. They sometimes they let shooting guards bring the ball up the court, and sometimes Joel Embiid doesn't stay on the block instead of and always just jacks up long range shots, and also Ben Simmons doesn't use that pick and roll a lot. In fact, him using that pick and roll actually helps him set up the defense and helps set up his game and can break the defense apart, because now he's driving to the basket. Now he creates so much attention. That's his strength. But the biggest detriment, and I've said this on numerous podcasts, even outside of my own channel, that Ben Simmons' inability to develop a consistent jumper is going to be his detriment until he develops it. But here's the flip side to it, though. Ben Simmons is not a finished product. He's still a raw young player that's still fine-tuning his game. So I don't view him at this point as a finished product. I don't accept him that this is who he is. He will need to develop that jump shot to really make his game much more complete. But he's not a finished product, to say the least. I think he'll continue to get better. And same for Joel Embiid, too. Now, for that series between the Sixers and the Raptors, I still got the Raptors in 7 games. This is going to be a series that's going to be a contrast of both inconsistent teams. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Duke, salute, man. Welcome aboard, though, brother. Thanks for coming in. But back to what I was saying, though. This is going to be a contrast of styles between these two teams, because Toronto is a defensive-oriented team, but also everything starts and ends with Kawhi Leonard. The same thing for the Philadelphia 76ers with Joel Embiid and also Ben Simmons. So it's going to be up to the role players from both sides to contribute in a big way in order for them to get past this series and possibly get to an NBA Finals against against Boston or Milwaukee. That's how I kind of see it at this point. Now, the Nuggets and Trailblazers series, that's going to be a compelling matchup, but I actually got the Nuggets winning in 5. I think that the front line of the Portland Trailblazers is going to have a hard time defending against Jokic. Let me tell you one thing about Jokic, Joe. I've been watching Jokic since he came into the league through the draft. This guy is a very smart basketball player. He can post, he can shoot, he knows how to pass, he knows how to set up his teammates. He's basically like a dream center for any guard to play with, because they can use the pick and roll, and he actually rolls to the basket, or he can pick and pop, or pass it, or set up to another teammate. He's the perfect complementary to those guys of both Millsap and Jordan Murphy. I'm sorry, was it Jordan Murray? Yes, I'm sorry, boy, confusing myself already. But back to what I was saying, though. This is going to be a series that is going to be a contrast of both the big front line of the Denver Nuggets versus the tandem backcourt of the Blazers with CJ McCollum and also Damian Lillard. You know what I'm saying? So I see that as a Nuggets victory in 5 games. Now let's look at the chat right here. Kevin Sittenhouse says, even though Kyle Lowry is an all-star, has he become the third option on the Raptors? Yes. I'll tell you this, though, Mr. Stenhouse. I've been really thinking about that. Since the development of Siakam this season, I really think that he's, in a way, has become the third option because you got to remember, as good as Kyle Lowry has been, in regular seasons, again, his playoff disappearing acts have been the defining moments of his career. In fact, I still believe that they should have never, ever traded DeMar DeRozan. Can you imagine having both DeMar DeRozan and Kawhi Leonard as your two star players? Woo! The damage that they could do. You know what I'm saying? That I see your point on that one, Mrs. Stenhouse. I think that that Lowry has become that third wheel on the Raptors, though, in my opinion. Now I know there's gonna be some others that will think, well, still Kyle Lowry makes big shots. Well, has he ever made big shots in the postseason? Let's think about that for a moment. CB Sports CB, welcome aboard, man. Salute. Yep, that's right. Representing the Windy City, man. So y'all subscribe to CB Sports CTV, man. He's putting it down, all the good boxing talk and all the news that's going around there, man. And a little side note, though, Barry Hearn looked like a damn fool talking about that slave deal, whatever, though. So that's my little side comment with that. Yep. Duke says, I like Toronto, but that game 2 loss will haunt them badly. We'll see. I'm more anxious to see how, when they get on the road in Philadelphia, how they'll respond to that home crowd and how they'll put their foot on the gas pedal when they start the ball game. I'll look for mostly. You know what I'm saying? Y'all hold on 1 second. Just hang out 1 second, everybody. Okay, guys, I'm back, guys. So let's go ahead and check out the chat real quick. CB Sports CB said Toronto will beat Philadelphia in 6 games. I do see it that way, though, CB. I just think that Philadelphia's inconsistency, especially towards their offense, I just don't see how they'll come back with Toronto's firepower. You know what I mean? I think that's going to be a 6-game series. Actually, no. I take that back. I look at that as a 7-game series, but I favor Toronto in that. I just don't think. That. I think Ben Simmons, again, inefficiency to shoot jump shots is going to be the detriment for them. You know what I'm saying? Sixers versus Celtics. Kevin Sittenhouse says, "Nah, I don't see it that way. I think Milwaukee. I think I'll tell you this. I think Milwaukee got a reality check on Sunday that's going to be beneficial for them as the series progresses. You'll see the Bucks adjusting, trying to figure out how to close down Kyrie, make him take all their shots and then taking care of the other guys, the Jalen Browns, the Tatum's, the Horfords, the Gordon Haywoods, and also the Terry Rozier, the Marcus Morris players. You know what I'm saying? Kevin Sittenhouse says that Celtics will slow down Middleton down in the second half to win game 2. Okay. We'll see what happens. I'm anxious to see how the Celtics will try to slow down Chris Middleton. I'll see. We'll see. You know what I'm saying? I can see what happened though, man. Hey, Mark Wonderland, salute. Hey, listen, guys, chat. Today is Mark Wonderland's birthday today. Y'all show some love for Mark Wonderland, though, man. Representing the Utah area, though, man. Hey, I'm glad you enjoyed my John Stockton video, bro. I'm sure it gave you good memories about the Malone and Stockton era, though, man. Unfortunately, we had to break your hearts in both 97 and 98. I had to do it to you, Mark. I had to do it to you, man. But still, happy birthday, man. Y'all show some love for Mark Wonderland, though, man. For real. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He said Duke says CB Sports TV Philly's gonna turn it up at home. Okay, okay. We'll see. Okay, okay. Tell Ben Simmons to make a jump shot, and then we'll start talking. Now I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Yeah, I just like to have fun. It's always of all the things that go down in basketball or in sports in general, it's always good to have fun and chop things up. Always though, man. Mark Wonderland said, "Thanks, bro. That jersey and hat was dope. Thanks. I really appreciate it. You know what? Here's the best part, though, Mr. Wonderland. There's actually the golden NBA logo there. You know what that meant? That 96-97 season, the NBA celebrated its 50th anniversary that year. And that was the same year John Stockton hit the big shot against the Rockets. And can I say this, too? What a horrible closeout by Charles Barkley. Fat Charles Barkley at that. You know what I'm saying? Let's check out the chat here. TV said to Duke, Phil's gonna lose game 3 at home. We'll see. Like I said, we'll see. Playoffs do some weird stuff though, man. Real talk, real talk. So let me ask y'all, everybody in the chat though, do you guys feel that Chris Paul should have been suspended after bumping into the referee in game 1? Let me know what y'all think though, man. I'll tell you this though. Chris Paul has been unlucky in the postseason. I'll tell you that. From his time with the Hornets, the Clippers, and especially with the Rockets, though too. But do y'all notice how Chris Paul always gets aggravated, always so angry during the postseason? Like, dude, just calm down, man. Just calm down. I know you want to win that bad, but bro, you haven't done much well in the postseason other than reaching the conference finals until you're into your hips and into your quadricep, man. Take a breather, bro. Man, my goodness. You know what I mean? You know, I'd always see how Chris Paul always responds in that postseason, though, man. He's had really bad luck. You know what I'm saying? CB Sports CD says Toronto will play better, and Philadelphia had no question for Kawhi Leonard. I agree. I agree with that assessment, though, CB. What would you say if you put Jimmy Butler on Kawhi Leonard? You know what I mean? Put Ben Simmons on Danny Green. That I don't know. That I don't know. That's an interesting scenario that I would think of, though. But you know, we'll see what happens, though. I'm more about we can predict till the cows come home, but until the game happens, we can keep on predicting. You know what I mean? Now, I want to get started on and also y'all go ahead and answer the question about the Chris Paul suspension thing. Do you believe that he should have been suspended or not? Let me know what y'all think though in the chat. So I want to get started on my top 10 second round series of all time. Now, last week, actually for the first 2 weeks, I did my top 10 of the greatest first round series in NBA history, in my opinion. And CB says if you put Jimmy on Kawhi, it will take away his offense, and Kawhi is still going to get his. That's a good point. That's a good assessment, though, CB. I'll tell you this though: Jimmy Butler is a tiger on defense, but there is times where his offense is left to be desired, especially if he has to defend against a very top scorer in Kawhi Leonard. You know what I mean? And you're not putting Ben Simmons on Kawhi Leonard because Ben Simmons will get blown by Kawhi almost at every given possession too. So now I want to get into my second round top 10 countdown list. Now I'm gonna do number 10 and number 9 on this list. Okay, guys. So I have at number 10 the Sacramento Kings versus the Minnesota Timberwolves back in 2004. Now let me tell you all this. That was one of the most wildest series in the state of Minnesota. I'm going to tell you why. This was the year KG won the MVP. We had, you know what I'm saying? And also, We had Latrell Sprewell. We had Sam Cassell, Zerbiak, Fred Hoiberg. You know what I mean? We actually had a good team that finally got themselves out of the first round. I mean, when the Timberwolves made their first playoff appearance from 1997 up until 2003, we even either got swept or lost in 5 games in the first round. And so that year, Kevin McHale did something that he rarely ever did during his time as a GM, other than giving that fat contract to Garnett in 1997. He actually went out and got two all-star players to help complement Garnett. That year, it was a great year, man. The Target Center was just filled to capacity, and when the Target Center was filled during playoff time, it gets really loud, especially down in the lower levels of the court. Woo! It can get intimidating for many opposition players. You know what I'm saying? And also on the other side of the ball, you had the Sacramento Kings, who were still. This was 2 years after their heartbreaking Game 7 defeat at the hands of the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. The previous year, they lost the 7 games to the Dallas Mavericks, but tragedy struck into that team when Chris Webber, just tore his knee apart. You know what I'm saying? You know, let's see. Let's check out the chat. I'm gonna check out the chat real quick. You know, Kevin Sinhouse says all the Sixers have to do is lock down Kyrie, and then they are down. Woo! Duke says to me, if you look at the whole little deal surrounding that play that caused him to get the tee, he has to get tee up. He kind of showed bad showmanship altogether. Agreed. I think that incident in of itself, though, bro, was left to be desired. I mean, I do understand maybe what the referees were kind of calling during the game, but still, you still got to play through it no matter what. I agree with that. Let's see. CB says, this Kevin Stenhouse, you can lock down Kyrie, but what about Siakam? And what about Kawhi single-handedly beating Toronto by themselves in a game in game one? Great point, CB. You know what? Siakam has really merged themselves as probably the second guy to the Raptors, though, ahead of Lowry, to be honest with you. Kevin Stenhouse says Kawhi's going to get his too no matter what. You know, Duke said then they ran up on the ref and got hit in his face. Agreed. Exactly. Greg L. Salute. Hey, Greg L. Thank you for coming, though, man. Thank you for coming. Kevin Stenhouse says Kawhi isn't going to get 45, 50 points per game. Well, in today's NBA, I mean, you can get any bucket you want. Let's be real here, It ain't the defense of the 80s where you could actually grab on to people and get physical with them, if you know what I'm saying. So now let me get into the top 10 countdown this, okay? So that Kings team that year, they were on borrowed time because their players were getting old. Chris Webber was no longer the same explosive player that he once was. And they lost in 5 games to the Jazz in 99. They lost in 5 games to the Lakers in 2000. They got swept by the Lakers in 2001? That 15-1 Lakers of 01. And also the infamous 2002 Western Conference Finals. And I'm going to say, as a side note, I'm going to get into that series when we get to the conference finals. It is one of the most horrific events in sports history. And then the 03 series against the Mavericks, where they came back down 3-1 to force a game 7, but lost to Chris Webber to that injury. You know what I'm saying? Sean the Icon saying checking in, saying what's up. Salute to you, salute to the chat. Thanks, Sean Icon. Thanks so much, man. The love is so appreciated. CB Sports TV says the difference in Game 3 will be how effective Embiid can be. If he isn't, and Toronto keeps playing defense the way they have been, I don't see Philly winning. I agree too. I think what we're gonna see from that series is I think they're gonna make Ben Simmons be the guy that beats him. With his shot. And that's what it's going to come down to. And until he develops that shot, I cannot stress this enough. Until he develops that shot, they're going to lock down on Embiid, and they're going to make things difficult for him. Just like what CB is saying. You know what I mean? It's going to be very, very hard for Philadelphia to get any buckets together. Now, I'm not saying they won't be able to score. They'll still be able to score, with Redick. They'll still be able to score with Butler. creating stuff. But again, Ben Simmons' ability, I mean, lack of ability to shoot the ball is going to be his detriment until he develops it. Now, to continue that the countdown list. Now, that series, it was a great series from start to finish. All three games were thrillers, everything that you wanted. But also, Greg Ellis says at least he needs a respectable shot. Agreed. Agreed. You know what? Let me say this too, Greg L. I believe that Ben Simmons is shooting from the wrong hand too. You know what I mean? I heard that he used to shoot right-handed until he transitioned to left-handed. I think when he was in college. Like it just feels like he's shooting with the wrong hand at times. He doesn't feel comfortable with that left hand. And y'all notice that? You know what I mean? So and I don't know. I kind of see that somewhat a little bit though, because I've seen probably one player in my lifetime that can shoot both left-handed and right-handed, and can shoot either or, with perimeter jump shots or obviously with layups and dunks. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's yeah, that's just an interesting thought. But like I said before, like I said, if Ben Simmons could get a jump shot, the Sixers ain't going nowhere, and that's all there is to it. All right, now I want to talk to you guys about that Game 7 in the Target Center, where KG was celebrating his birthday that day, and he had one of the greatest performances, perhaps of his entire career. And actually, I was actually watching that game on TV, but some of my friends who went down to that game could tell you that arena in the Target Center was just unbelievable. You know what I mean? I've been to the Target Center numerous occasions for Timberwolves games, but I've never heard an arena that loud, just like how that Game 7 was. And boy, did Garnett had the greatest game of his life. For the opening tip, he just took the game over and held it and firmed it. You know what I mean? It was his moment. I mean, he scored 32 points, he grabbed 21 rebounds, and he blocked 5 shots. He had 4 steals in the game. You know what I mean? He basically took that game and held it with a firm grip. You know what I mean? And the Kings had a good chance to tie the game late. You know what I mean? You know, Doug Quistey was the only guy that game who was the only guy that got anything going on the offensive end though. Chris Webber, he had 16 points, but he really, unfortunately, he could only take jump shots because he just could not get to the basket and create. Because of the knee injury, it took away a lot of his explosiveness. And KG was able to blow by him, get any dunks off, layups, fadeaway jumpers, and especially that 3-pointer that it was it about 25 feet away from the basket, and he was able to hit it. I guarantee you, I felt that the Target Center was going to explode out of the roof. I mean, it was really one of the great moments in Minnesota history. But on the final possession, though, too, Chris Webber had a pump fake and was in a great position to tie the ball game. As the shot went into the air, the Tiger Center just looked dead silent as the ball went towards the rim, and when it went in and out, it felt like a time bomb and exploded. And boom, the Minnesota Timberwolves made it to the Western Conference Finals. You know what I mean? For the first time in their team history. And since then they've never made it back to the conference finals. How ironic, you know. But eventually that Timberwolves team lost 6 games. The missing factor was Sam Cassell in that game. He had like a bad hip, and that's it. And it's also Flip Saunders has said. I think I read an article one time where Flip Saunders said that big balls dance that Sam Cassell used to do, he did it after the game and re-aggravated that hip injury he had. And he said that if Sam Cassell did not hurt himself in those playoffs, that the Timberwolves would have won the championship. Now, that's a huge jump because I'm not saying that the Timberwolves would, but at least they would have put up a better competitive series against the Detroit Pistons. You know what I mean? Than the Lakers, who got like waxed badly. You know, but it was a great series. It was the emergence of Kevin Garnett of during that whole playoffs, and erasing that stigma of losing in the first round and then getting to the conference finals. That was a huge accomplishment for him. And it was finally a stigma that he got off his back until 4 years later when he was traded to the Celtics and won a championship. You know, but again, that was the last time the Timberwolves made it to the playoffs until 2017, actually until 2018. And until then, we had still not made to the NBA Finals. And unfortunately for the Sacramento Kings, it was the beginning of the end because then Chris Webber was traded to Philadelphia, Peja was traded to Indiana, and then Vlade signed with the Lakers. They made the playoffs in 2006, but have yet made to the playoffs since. And they're putting a very good young team together, with De'Aaron Fox, Marvin Bagley, and Justin Jackson in the crew. I think somewhere down the line that KC will make the playoffs next season. You know what I mean? Barring what the Clippers might do during the offseason if they could get Kawhi Leonard. But like I said before, that was a great series from start to finish, and it was something that I always hold dear to my heart. So let's go ahead and check out the chat. Jevin, what's up, though, homie? How you doing, though, man? You know, y'all be putting up a great chat though in the chat, man. It's been really fun to see it go down, you know. But now at number 9, I got the Phoenix Suns versus the San Antonio Spurs back in the 2007 playoffs. Now that was a very physical series. I mean, this was Mike D'Antoni's run and gun style offense versus the old school traditional San Antonio Spurs structure. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was very physical. It was very drilling. I felt that this was probably the second best series, other than the Mavericks being upset by the Warriors in the previous first round. That really was the one that threw everything off. You know what I'm saying? So look at when I think about that series, though, I had to really rewatch it again just to get a feel of how that game went out. The Phoenix Suns, had a huge opportunity, to really that get past the San Antonio Spurs. And unfortunately, you know, the big highlight of that series is when Nash brought the ball up the court in the closing minute of the game. Robert Ory came out of nowhere and it just shoved him into the press table where eventually Raja Bell got involved in it. Was fighting though too. But the big uh sin in that series was when Mari Stoudemire and Boris Diaw left off the bench. Now, according to the rules of the NBA, you're not supposed to leave a bench during an altercation. You're supposed to stay glued to the bench or stay in the bench area. But those two guys came off the bench, and they didn't get involved into the altercation though. But they were forced to take a 1-game suspension. Actually, yeah, that's right. They were supposed to take a 1-game suspension because you're not supposed to leave the bench, as ridiculous as it is. You know what I mean? But they put the rule in back in the 90s to ensure that bench clearing brawls do not happen on the court. And for Robert Ory, he received a 2-game suspension. Now, that was a huge highlighting moment because then after the Suns tied the series, San Antonio went on to win Game 5 and went on to win Game 6. That Game 5 though, that really was a killer one, because without your dominant center and Mari Stoudemire, and without your top forward and Boris Diaw, it became a little easier for the Spurs to go into Phoenix and still went on the road. Not to say it wasn't easy at all. Anyway, but this left the Phoenix Suns, dead afterwards, and it carried through even after they made the conference finals back in 2010. That was actually their best chance to win a championship that year. And unfortunately, that fight, ended their opportunities at a championship, especially for Steve Nash, who won back-to-back MVPs that year. Those times when he was in Phoenix. But the one thing that I would say to Mike D'Antoni, as great as a genius he is, he is pathetic when it comes to team defense. You know what I mean? He never ever uses any regular set of defense. And I believe if he decided to do that, he probably would have a couple of rings. But he's just been a guy that says, hey, take more 3-pointers, take more shots. We don't want twos. We want layups and dunks, more 3-point shots. Just go back to watch last year's Game 7 in the conference finals. Chugging up threes will not win you championships. And for D'Antoni, that was a huge stigma against him. And then eventually, that after the Spurs defeated the Suns, they went on to win the championship. They won their fourth championship in 10 years. And that series was the defining moment for both of those teams. Because then the Suns made it to the conference finals in 2010, but they were on a relative decline afterwards and went into obscurity. Greg Hill says he don't know what defense means. Right. Unfortunately, he don't. That's why he is never, ever, will ever win. He's never, ever been to a finals, and he will never, ever win a championship. And you can bank on that. But I will not deny that it was a really fun series with two contrasting styles: the offensive-minded Suns against the defensive-minded Spurs, and the discipline of the Spurs won out despite the Ori incident there with Steve Nash. But that's number 9 on my list, though. So I'll try to come back tomorrow with number 8 and number 7 on my list, though, too. And it's gonna keep getting better, guys. So y'all stay tuned. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. And I'm going to start watching back the playoff game. And I'll start watching the Sixers and the Milwaukee Bucks and the Celtics, though, man. So everybody with wrenches, though, make sure to share this live stream on your social media platforms. Let's try to get to 300 subscribers, though, bro. We did a huge favor for ourselves with reaching over 200 subscribers. Now I want to try to go over to 300, and let's keep pushing it forward. The more content, the better. And the more live discussions, the more engagement, though, guys. So thanks for y'all for tuning in. Y'all make sure to smash the like button on the way out. This is Bill Mehari, representing MehariNation Sports Podcast here. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to the entire Lions Den basketball community. And we out. Have a good night, everybody. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8 p.m. Central Time.